You are 47. The elevator's broken again, third time this month, and you're on your knees in the lobby with the panel open when a new tenant steps around you without a word, the kind of step around that doesn't even register you as a person, just an obstacle in a navy jumpsuit. She's on the phone complaining to someone about the building. The maintenance guy is here every other day. I don't know how this place is even run. You don't look up. You've heard versions of this sentence for 23 years. You've owned the building she's standing in for the last 11 of them. Her heels click across the marble as she keeps talking, something about how she's going to email the management company again, how this is unacceptable for what she pays in rent. You reach into the panel and reset a breaker you've reset 100 times before, and somewhere behind you her voice fades into the stairwell. You could tell her, right now, that the management company forwards every one of her emails to you personally. You don't. You never do. Not on day one, anyway. Rewind. You are 24. You take the super job at Ridgeview Apartments because the basement unit comes free with it, and free is the only number that matters to you that year. 42 units, 4 floors, a boiler that hates you personally. The owner, a man named Halloran who's never once fixed anything himself, pays you $11 an hour to keep it running and treats you the way owners treat supers, cordial, distant, a little bit like furniture that happens to answer the phone. You spend that first year learning the building the way you'd learn a person, which pipes bang at night, which unit floods first when it rains hard, which tenants leave notes taped to your door and which just call at midnight expecting an answer. You don't resent any of it. There's something in the work you genuinely like, the specific satisfaction of a problem that has an actual fixable answer, unlike most things in your life up to that point. You fix a leak in 4C your second week and the tenant, an older woman named Mrs. Patterson, tips you $20 and tells you you're wasted here, you should be running your own building someday. You laugh it off. You don't laugh it off completely. Something about the sentence lodges somewhere you don't examine yet. You are 26. Halloran mentions, offhand, fixing a busted railing, that he's thinking about selling off a few units instead of managing the whole building himself, condo converting a floor, easier money, less headache. You ask, almost as a joke, what a unit like yours would cost. He tells you. It's a number that should scare you off the conversation entirely. Instead you go home and do math you've never done before, rent you're not paying, savings you've barely started, years you'd need. You are 28. You buy the first unit. Not yours, 1 floor up, a 1-bedroom that's been sitting empty for months because Halloran can't be bothered to market it properly. You use every dollar you've saved plus a loan from a credit union that almost laughs you out of the building before a manager there, a woman who grew up the daughter of a super herself, takes a chance on you. You rent it out within 3 weeks. You keep living in the basement unit. Nobody in the building knows a single thing changed. You sign the closing paperwork on your lunch break, in your work clothes, and drive straight back to fix a garbage disposal in 3A afterward, still holding the folder of documents in your truck. There's no ceremony to it. No one claps. You go back to being exactly who everyone in the building already thought you were, except now, quietly, you're also something else entirely, a fact that exists only on paper nobody in this building will ever think to ask you for. You are 31. You own 3 units now, scattered across 2 floors, all rented, all quiet, all still managed by you under the same navy jumpsuit you wear to fix everyone else's radiators. A tenant in 2B, a young guy named Marcus who works in finance downtown, jokes with you every week about your uniform, calls you, the fix-it king, tips you at Christmas like you're doing him a favor by existing. You take the tip. You say thank you. You go back to your unit and update a spreadsheet Marcus will never see. Marcus likes to talk, in the elevator, about his own investments, stocks mostly, a little enthusiastic about numbers he half understands, and he asks you once, genuinely curious, whether you've ever thought about getting into real estate yourself, given how well you clearly know buildings. You tell him you've thought about it. He laughs, not unkindly, says something about how the math probably doesn't work on a super's salary, and changes the subject to a game he watched the night before. You let him change it. You are 34. Halloran dies, sudden, a heart attack in his own kitchen, and the building goes to his son, a man in his 20s who lives 3 states away and wants nothing to do with any of it. You make an offer on 6 more units, structured through an LLC with a name nobody would connect to a maintenance man, and the son takes it without much negotiation because 6 units gone means 6 fewer headaches for a life he never wanted to inherit. You now own 9 of 42 units. You still fix the elevator yourself when it breaks. The son meets you exactly once, at the closing, and spends most of the meeting on his phone, barely registering the face of the man buying nearly a quarter of his late father's building. He asks, at one point, almost as an afterthought, whether the current super is any good, whether he should worry about maintenance quality once the sale goes through. You tell him the super is excellent, reliable, knows the building better than anyone. It's the most honest thing either of you says in that entire meeting. You are 37. A resident association forms, tenants worried about rising costs and a building that feels increasingly undermanaged by an absentee owner nobody's ever met. They ask you, the super, to attend meetings and represent maintenance concerns. You sit in the back. You listen to people speculate about who actually owns this place now, theories ranging from a corporation to a slumlord to, once, memorably, a rumor that the building is owned by a ghost. Nobody guesses the man refilling their radiators every winter. You take notes at every meeting, genuinely useful ones, which tenants have legitimate complaints and which are just venting, which repairs are actually urgent and which can wait a budget cycle. You bring those notes home and fold them directly into decisions the LLC makes the following month, a feedback loop nobody in that room has any idea they're feeding. Somebody suggests, at one meeting, hiring a tenant representative to formally liaise with ownership. You volunteer, in your capacity as super, to pass the suggestion along. You pass it along to yourself the next morning. You are 40. You own 18 units. You could stop working the super job entirely. You don't. Partly because stopping would raise questions you're not ready to answer, and partly because you've realized something nobody tells you about this kind of quiet accumulation. The job is how you know, better than any report ever could, exactly which units need investment and which tenants pay on time and which problems are actually structural instead of cosmetic. You are, without anyone knowing it, the best informed landlord in the entire city. You turned down a management company's offer to handle the building professionally that year, a call that would let you step back entirely, collect checks, never touch a wrench again. You tell them you'll think about it. You don't take the deal. Something about handing the daily texture of the building to a stranger feels like giving away the only advantage you've ever actually had, the fact that you know this place from the inside out in a way no spreadsheet alone could teach anyone. You are 43. Marcus from 2B moves out, promoted, relocating for a bigger job, and on his last day he shakes your hand and tells you, genuinely, that you were the best part of living here, that he hopes wherever you end up, someone treats you the way you deserve. You thank him. You don't tell him you already own the unit he's leaving, that you'll be the one deciding who moves in next, that the tip jar dynamic he never questioned ran in exactly the opposite direction the whole time. You are 45. You cross the halfway mark, 22 units of 42, controlling interest in a building you've spent 2 decades unclogging drains inside. Your accountant, the only person who fully knows the number, asks you at your annual meeting why you still do the physical work yourself when you could hire it out entirely and never touch a wrench again. You tell her the truth. You like knowing the building better than anyone who's ever owned it before you. You like that nobody looking at you sees anything worth a second glance. You are 47. Present day. The elevator panel is open in front of you, the new tenant still on the phone complaining about the maintenance guy, not knowing she's describing the man who approved her lease application 3 weeks ago from behind an LLC's letterhead she never bothered to research. You close the panel. You stand up. You wipe your hands on a rag that's older than some of your tenants. You say nothing. You've said nothing for 20 years. It's never once cost you anything to let people believe exactly what they see. The resident association calls an emergency meeting that spring, the boiler failing for real this time. A repair estimate in 6 figures. Nobody in the building can imagine an absentee owner actually approving without a fight. You attend as the super, same as always, sitting in the back, listening to the panic build. Someone finally asks aloud what everyone's been thinking, whether the mystery owner will even bother responding to the request. You raise your hand, not as the super this time, and tell the room, plainly, that the repair is already approved, that the paperwork went through that morning, and that you'd know, because you're the one who approved it. Someone near the front laughs first, assuming it's a joke, the super's dry sense of humor finally coming out after 2 decades of silence. You don't laugh along with them this time. You just repeat it, quieter, more specific, the LLC's name, the closing dates, the years, and the laughter stopped somewhere in the middle of the second sentence, replaced by the particular silence of 40-some people simultaneously rewriting a story they'd all agreed on without ever checking it. The room goes quiet the way rooms go quiet when a sentence doesn't fit the shape everyone had already assigned to the person saying it. Mrs. Patterson, still in 4C after 23 years, is the first to speak, and what she says isn't a question, it's a small, delighted laugh, because she's the only person in the room who ever told you, once, on your second week, that you were wasted here. She'd forgotten she'd said it. You never did. You don't make a speech. You don't need the room's approval any more than you needed it the day you bought the first unit in secret at 28. You just answer the questions that come, calmly, the same way you've always answered questions about the boiler, except this time the answers are about depreciation schedules and capital reserves instead of thermostats. The tenant from the elevator, the one who complained about you an hour into moving in, sits in the front row saying nothing at all. Doing the math on every interaction she's had with you since the day she signed her lease. You go back to your basement unit that night, the same one you moved into at 24, because you never saw a reason to leave it, because the walk to every other unit in the building takes exactly the same amount of time from here as it would from anywhere else, and because some part of you has always liked living inside the thing you built instead of above it. You open the spreadsheet Marcus never saw, the one that started with a single 1-bedroom and a loan a credit union manager almost didn't approve. 42 units. Every single one, now, finally, yours. You think about the credit union manager, retired now, who you still send a card to every December, the only person in your life for the first 6 years who ever looked at a maintenance man's loan application and saw something other than the uniform. You think about Halloran's son, still out of state, still uninterested, who has no idea the 6 units he sold off in 20 minutes at a closing table became the foundation for everything that followed. You think about Mrs. Patterson, still in 4C, who said one sentence to you 23 years ago and then forgot she'd ever said it, the way people so often forget the exact words that end up mattering most to someone else. Somewhere tonight, a young super in some other city is fixing a leak in someone else's apartment, getting handed a $20 tip and a comment about being wasted there, laughing it off the way you once did, not yet examining where that sentence might actually lead if he let it sit long enough. He doesn't know yet that the uniform and the ownership were never actually opposites. He doesn't know that the building never once needed him to look like anything other than exactly what everyone assumed he was, right up until the day it didn't matter what anyone assumed at all.